let this shit slide and get your lick back. I feel like I'm JX. J-Way. I'm a perfectionist. Adderall got me restless. I'm gone. Run with a wild crew, they get reckless. Young boy, come up off that neck. Into the trends. See a lead, be the band.
Good evening, and well, is it more evening? Yeah, we'll call it evening. Good evening, and welcome to another episode of Corner to Copa. It's a beautiful sun, little under the weather, but we're gonna get through it. I got my co-host under me on the screen. Pause. But how you doing? How you doing today, my boy? Got the shades on, I see.
Oh, we're a little extra today. We're just a little extra, deservedly so.
Absolutely. The Tigers are now 39-21, 6 up on Minnesota, pending on what they do today. And we are about a third of the way through the season. It feels good. We're about nearly, 18 games above 500. And yeah, bounced back pretty well from that Cleveland series, starting with a sweep in San Francisco. And then we took 2 of 3 in Kaufman Stadium. But what stood out to you? What jumped out at you? Gritty series. Junkyard Dog came in there, gave us 5 innings. Tyler Holton got him out of a little bit of trouble, but had to grind this one out.
Oh yeah, today's game specifically, man. Montero was playing with some fire almost every inning, and we joked about it in our group chat offline while the game was going on, and I stated what most people would think would be satire. I literally said, I bet his opponent batting average is much better when there's runners on or just in scoring position, and he looked it up and verified that. So he got himself out of trouble. Bullpen held it down, kind of reciprocated the effort from yesterday that Waka and his bullpen got for the win, but boy, that was nice to be on the other end of that compared to Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, you called it out probably a couple weeks ago or whenever we realized that we had, once we realized the probable starters, who the probable starters was going to be, Michael Waka, and sure enough, he had a no-hitter through 7 innings or something like that.
At least 6, yeah.
Yeah, we had a couple of pitchers duel. Actually, every in the San Francisco series, the run differential was only 5 runs. It was a couple 2-3, 4-3, 3-1. Very, very close series overall, but nonetheless, we were able to grind out a win in 3 wins in that series as well. But yesterday, Scooble did all he could do. I think he went 7 innings, 9 strikeouts. Just under 100 pitches, pretty much did everything that he could do, besides pick up a bat himself. But I'll certainly take 2 or 3. Bo Brisky, one of the few guys that has not fared well out of the bullpen. Will Vest had an amazing week. Canley has a opponent OPS of 454, probably a little lower because it was going into this game. Chase Lee nails. Tyler Holton hasn't had a great year. His opponent OPS is pretty much around league average at around 700, but he did a masterful job of getting Montero out of some trouble. But outside of that, the return of Wencio Perez. I went to the Giants game, or the Tigers' first Giants game the day after Memorial Day. For probably the first pitch he saw, hits it out to right field. So that's been exciting to see him come back and get right to where he left off in the playoffs last year. But yeah, outside of that, Colt Keith, we joke about it. May is his month. He came into this game with 3 home runs, 11 RBIs, 830 OPS, having a good month. And Riley Green as well. He didn't have a great week per se, as most didn't, because we didn't score a boatload of runs. But he's pretty much solidified himself quietly as a possible all-star, which would make 2 in a row. He's got a 929 OPS, 7 home runs and 24 RBIs as well. So So yeah. Outside of that, I also saw a statistic where Torkelson and Green are the only duo in the league right now that have 14 home runs and 40 RBIs as of now. Torkelson obviously got off to a blazing start in March. The average has dropped, but he's continued to display power. He'll have at least one game out of a series where he has multiple RBIs, hits a home run. So steady for him. He hasn't been red hot. We joke about how him and Green, can't have a good game the same day, but yet and still they're, like I said, one of two, the only duo in the entire league with a combination of that many home runs and that RBI. Um, so yeah, good start to the month. A tough series, a tough series on the road against a team that tends to have our number, tends to have, I don't know if he tends to have the Tigers number as a whole, but they have been known to knock around Tarek Skubal pretty good. So nice to see him, nice to see him bounce back, have some fun, chatter, chatter about Mr. Perez, but looking good right now. All right. Um, any other thoughts on the week before we get into our next segment?
Yeah, just interesting some general things. We mentioned that duel with Walker and Scooble. I think that was pretty much the highlight of the week, unexpectedly. Dingler, McKinstry, I think, interesting that they are now tied for the team lead in WAR at 1.6. Wow. They continue to kind of be the 1B and 2B to Torkelson and Green in that aspect, and providing supplemental support to those guys and keeping the lineup rotating over while they're hitting. So that, and I think the bullpen this week, they've had some pitching chaos, if you will, a little bit this week, more so than they've had so far this year. And they really answered the bell. Like you said, Holton hadn't had a great start to the year, but he's had probably a better last 2 weeks. So in conjunction with that and some of the injuries we've had, guys like Canley and Will Vest have been huge. And like you said, Chase Lee, definitely, we might talk about him again a little bit later on, but he is quickly becoming a very integral part of that back end of the bullpen, or even as a bridge.
Yeah, there's been a lot of news and a lot of moving pieces as far as pitching is concerned. And, in this day and age, I don't think there's been more, guys headed to the injured list as far as pitching is concerned. So we'll definitely touch on that a little bit once we get into the injuries and rosters and stuff like that. But the team just seems to be really deep. You touched on Dingler. I think in the first game, which was our best offensive output, Dingler hit a home run. I want to say Torque hit one, and Green had one early on in the game. So
yeah,
we get it done in a number of different ways, whether it's power or today, where we have one run score the entire game on a triple by McKinstry and an eerie wild pitch. I think would you say it was a wild pitch? I mean,
yeah,
Perez had some weird.
It was a tough dig for him to block, and he got a piece of it, but it was just an awkward. The way it came in was weird. I would call it a wild pitch if I was scoring it officially.
Yeah, so it was one of those situations, if I can paint the picture for those that didn't get a chance to watch it, where he got a decent piece of it. It sprayed away from him, and he saw McKinstry freeze, like he was going to go back to the bag, but it dribbled it far enough away, and Perez didn't immediately run after it. Before he went to go run to get the ball, he kind of took a look back at third base. And when McKinstry saw that he wasn't moving, he said, "Oh, I got a chance to get in there." And sure enough, that was the only run of the entire game. If I'm not mistaken, the game was 1-0, correct?
Yeah, no, that was pretty much it. Was Benetti tried to assume what Perez was thinking. I don't know if you heard the broadcast during the replay.
I think I had it on mute, but what did he say?
And it made sense. I think it's logical. I thought initially that Perez was assuming that the ball had bounced so far away from him and that Zach was just going to go, that he had no shot at getting him because, well, one, Salvi is an aging veteran, not quite the fleet of foot as he may have been earlier in his career. So he was almost conceding the run, just assuming that if he was breaking at that moment before the ball even got to the backstop entirely, he had no shot because there just wasn't enough time too far away. So then he saw and he looked back. He was like, oh, crap, he hasn't gone yet. And then Zach realized that he hadn't really committed to the ball, and that's when they both kind of broke. But, Zach getting to the bag is a bit quicker than Salvi getting that baseball probably, 40, 50 feet away from him still.
Yeah, it was a nice distance. So
yeah, so that's interesting. Just also considering some of the games I had yesterday and explaining a 1-0 game. So, but yeah, we'll take it 1-0. We'll trade them. Series win.
Yeah, series win, divisional. A series win against a divisional opponent on the road. Yeah, they're not always going to be pretty, but not always pretty, but always gritty. Let's get to the first break, and then we're going to talk rosters. All right, Coach. What roster moves that are injuries do we have to speak about?
Yeah, we have some developments, some stuff that we've talked about going back to probably the middle of the week. I think there's one that we should touch on briefly before we go on the formal injury report. Alex Cobb, who had pitched 2 innings in his first rehab outing, if I'm not mistaken, just the other day, statistically went well. 1 hit, I think, 2 Ks. I don't know if he had a walk, only 2 innings, but Hinch had reported that he physically was laboring badly after those 2 innings. So I think there's a bit more going on with him in terms of his recovery. This is more than just hey, I haven't pitched competitively in, X amount of months, tired. This is something's not quite right yet for me to get that kind of stamina. So more to be on him later on probably, but I would say right now he's at least a month, if not more, away from being close to being activated or anything close to that nature. So a lot more on him probably coming up later on. But now we get into the formal report here. I think the bigger one, which happened earlier in the week, on the 27th, Vierling unfortunately went right back on the 10-day IL after 4 games back, shoulder inflammation. Not too much more news since then about that, but good news, it's only 10 days. So they're just thinking hopefully some time off will do the trick with any minor treatment needed. Jackson Jobe, after much speculation, especially in our chat offline, did go on the 15-day EL with a grade 1 elbow strain, retroactive to the 29th of his last start. For those that weren't aware, they basically shielded him from the media after that start and then kicked everyone out of the clubhouse after an hour in some really weird circumstances. So this is kind of puts a bow on that whole exchange from that night. And Alex Cobb, as a result, was transitioned to the 60-day IL, creating an additional man available on the 40-man roster, opens up a spot, which they chose the relief pitcher Dylan Smith from Toledo, who I do not believe has made his debut yet at this time. At the same time, they also claimed relief pitcher Ryan Cusick off waivers from the Arizona Diamondbacks. And in side news and rehab side of it, Sawyer Gibson-Long had a great rehab start. I believe he went 5 innings, 1 or 2 hits, something like that. And then Reese Olson, who had thrown off flat ground earlier in the week, heading into the weekend, was slated for a bullpen session yesterday. I had seen an update about that, but I would say no news is good news at this point.
Yeah, there was actually there's a lot going on right now. Dylan Smith got the call up to the majors as well. He's been successfully converted to a relief pitcher. That might have been in our last show news, maybe. I don't know. But we haven't seen him as of yet. Sawyer Gibson Long was in Kansas City as well. So only a matter of time before we see him. Obviously, I think it's TBD on every starting pitcher. Well, maybe not anymore, but last I checked, it was TBD on every starting pitching situation in Chicago. So no telling who we might see. You might get a chance to see a Sawyer Gibson Long return. But outside of that, it looks like Sean Gunther and Bailey Horn are both on the injured list, which is every left-handed pitcher that we have as far as relief pitchers is concerned. So don't know what to make of that, or whether they're going to try to find somebody to play that role. I mean, well, Tyler Holden is a lefty, but I think him and obviously Scooble, that goes without saying, are the only lefties that we have as far as on the 40-man roster.
I'm assuming they're on the minor league IL after they were sent down.
Yeah. Gunther is down. Bailey Horn's down. I don't know if he's. I don't think Bailey Horn's been up all year. NBC Detroit fan in the building. But in addition to that, Ty Madison, who's been injured for, who I think was on the 60-man, is starting a rehab start in West Michigan. Now, down on the farm, the minor leagues, it was a busy week to keep up with these guys. West Michigan has been, just laying the belt to everybody, but especially the Dayton Dragons. They've had a 6-game sweep of the entire season where they've outscored them 62-21. Kevin McGonigal and Josue Briseño being the stars of that, of that full series. McGonigal went 13 of 22 with a home run, 3 doubles, 8 runs, 8 RBIs, and 6 walks. And Mr. Briseño, first and foremost, he had a 3 home run game over the weekend, and then he had a grand slam last night. Today, I think he had at least 3 walks. They said, I don't care what happens. By the way, we beat them 11-3, so another trouncing. They said, I don't care what happens. We're not letting Briseño beat us. So they just walked him the entire game, and he didn't press because young guys, 20 years old, you hit 4 home runs already this weekend. You're gonna press as a 20-year-old, but he is not going to expand the strike zone. So he's just going to take his walks and keep it moving. But his stat line was 6 for 16, which means 5 of the 6 hits were home runs, 2 doubles, 6 runs, 12 RBIs, 6 walks, and 4 Ks. I don't know why they put the. Oh, they did. They counted the walks for McGonigal too. He had 0 strikeouts. So he's more of a contact hitter, of course. But McGonigal is hitting 500
That's insane.
Yes, he is now 50-50 as far as his at-bats at the high A level. Obviously, he did some rehab in Lakeland that they don't account for, but he is hitting 500 with West Michigan. Let's see what MSU Detroit fan is. It's an interesting scenario with the White Sox series, but the main thing is Google can't pitch in a sense they'll mean he'll miss all the Cubs series. Okay. So I think he says they're going to hold him off until the Cubs series, I'm guessing. He said, I'm wondering if Reese Olson will return against the White Sox. What I've heard about Reese Olson is that he is able to throw everything but his changeup right now, and he won't return until he's able to do that. MSU Detroit says, I wouldn't mind a Scooble, Flaherty, Olson, Mize rotation between Montero and Gibson Long for the 5th spot. By then we'll talk about the probables towards the end of the show, so stay tuned. But let's see what else we got going on as far as the minor league is concerned. Bly Madris had a walk-off grand slam on Friday. Brewer Hicklin hit a grand slam, hit that bad boy 456 feet, which is probably one of the harder, like the farthest home runs of the year. I want to say 480 is the furthest as far as minor league is concerned. And Parker Meadows had a stand-up triple on Saturday. We'll talk more about him in a little bit, but another guy to keep an eye on. We've already talked about Briseño, McGonigal, Max Clark, but Isaac Pacheco. He's 22 years old. He was drafted in 2021. I would assume out of high school because that would have been when he was 19. But he is currently hitting 302 with 4 home runs and 25 RBIs. I presume that once the West Michigan has wrapped up the division, you will see at least Clark, McGonigal, and Briseño move up. But Isaac Pacheco is another name to keep an eye on. This guy's a shortstop. I think he plays some third base as well, but he's a big boy, 6'3", 225 pounds. Definitely got some potential to be a power hitter. MSU Detroit fan, how is How You Lee doing, since it sounds like he's the most ready prospect in Toledo? He has been pretty good since a slow start. I want to say he's hitting around 290, if I'm not mistaken. Toledo, another team that's just been dominating as of lately. You talked about it a little bit, Mr. Cusick, Ryan Cusick, who was originally drafted by the Braves in the first round in 2021. He's 6'6" and has a power fastball that touches anywhere from 96 to 98. He also complements that with a changeup and a slider. Obviously, the Tigers are trying to get some more power arms at the top of the lineup, at the back end of the bullpen. Will Vest is obviously doing a great job of that. Canley, although he's not a power arm, he definitely gets some swing and miss. He throws a lot of changeups, but I've noticed that he has some decent velocity on his fastball. I think he can get it up to about 95, 96, which is going to make, if you have an effective changeup, if you can get the fastball up to 95, it's going to make it that much more difficult.
He throws that changeup too between like 81 and 85 miles an hour. So, I mean, and if you stack that bottom end of that with the high end of his fastball, dude, that's a full 15 mile an hour difference. That is so much of a big difference to the major league level.
Yeah, I mean, if you're sitting changeup because he throws it 80% of the time, and then he throws you a 95 mile per hour fastball, there's nothing you can do with that. So,
yeah,
and apparently you can't just sit on the changeup because you still can't hit it. So, yeah, he's been great. But yeah, let's see what it says here. Oh, we kind of talked about it, but yeah, Sawyer Gibson-Long isn't active yet, but he has arrived at Kaufman Stadium to throw a bullpen in front of pitching coaches Chris Fetter, Robin Lund, and Juan Nieves, and then we can make a determination of what's next for him. So, depending on how that bullpen session went, there's a good chance that in this 4-game series against the White Sox, you just might get a chance to see him. But let's get to the next break and see what we got rolling. All right. Anything going on around the league to talk about?
Nothing too crazy. Shohei Ohtani went nuts the other night against the Yankees. They were just absolutely giving it to them, and twice over. I think at one point it was 14-1, and they were barely halfway through the game. So potential World Series matchup, some might say, not us, not on this channel. But he continues to have an outstanding offensive year. I don't know if he's going to be pitching this year. I thought maybe potentially in the second half, but he continues to rake. And Aaron Judge obviously is a major MVP, early odds-on favorite with his insane numbers from a national standpoint. Braves lose a young rookie starting pitcher to Tommy John surgery after his last start, after they get Acuna back. So 1 foot forward, another step back for them in terms of their reign in their league. Orioles, we mentioned it the other day. What a weird sequence Saturday against the White Sox at home, Camden Yards. wearing those actually pretty nice orange on orange uniforms, getting into a little kerfuffle that led to a benches clearing incident on really something that was just an idiotic play by the base runner for interference. He was out anyways. So they continue to crash out hard after they fired their manager not too long ago as well. And I think this has been a course of the week ever since some of the news broke about Paul Skeens. We'll put it out there for the listeners and the viewers. Knowing historically in the last 25 years, the Pirates do not reinvest and pay big money for free agency or extension from guys that they have picked and, progressed to the major leagues and become a star on their own. They just don't. They don't pay that kind of money, and they never have. So now everyone's pressuring them. Hey, they need to get rid of Paul Skeens. They can't do this to him. It's a waste of his talent right now. So we'll put that out there to the viewers and whatnot on him. Should Pittsburgh actually trade Paul Skeens before the end of the year or heading into next year?
Yeah, I mean, they have a lot of years of control right now, so I think it's a little premature from that. I think that if they traded him too soon, I think people would just completely stop coming. His value is just too high. I mean, his value is so high right now that, I mean, it would be just so ridiculous. You would have to gut whoever's farm system it was that even partook, who would even partake in a negotiation. So down the line, I'm sure it's going to happen, but I think it's going to be a while. Yeah, as far as around the league, I think the Nationals, who did they play? Oh, Arizona. I think they played it like eight guys before they even recorded an out in the first inning the other day. The Nationals are a fun young team to watch. They got Abrams and Wood.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, they're not great. They're not a great team, but they're a fun team. Fun team to watch. Let's catch up on some of these comments. Sort Gibson Law didn't pitch at all last year. No, he was injured all of last year. He had a nice conclusion of 2023. Was it?
Yeah.
Conclusion to 2023, and it was definitely some buzz going into the next year. So he could be a sleeper because he was solid at the end of 2023. He said, I remember him being decent at the end of exactly. Since he was the prospect we got when we traded Michael. Okay. With injuries to the Dodgers starting pitching, I'm surprised they aren't letting Ohtani pitch. Well, they got a major investment in him, so yeah, I don't think they're going to press it. I think he did do some bullpen, or he did do some batting practice. I can't remember who the analyst was, but he said that he would like to see him come in as a closer, which is, I think they have a pretty good closer as is, but there's no use in forcing him, forcing the issue. I don't think there's any purpose in it.
Yeah.
He said a mock that had Paul Skeens going to Detroit for Max Clark, Rainier, and a few other. Yeah, I think McGonigal was in there. I think Colt Keith was in there. It was crazy. It's like, get it, but he's the best. I mean, here's the thing. It's bigger than him being one of the better pitchers in all of baseball. It's the years of control. You would acquire 4 years of control before you have to move off of them. So not going to happen. I mean, they got a blessing. He fell right in their lap, and they're just going to continue to lose with him pitching, I guess. He said McGonigal was not mentioned on the map. Okay, so McGonigal was the one guy not mentioned, which is, we're not splitting up McGonigal and Clark. I mean, a lot's got to go wrong. Right now, we're sitting pretty where we're at, where we don't have any just major glaring holes outside of an everyday third baseman. But, if we can maintain atop the AL, the American League as a whole without touching any of our top farm players, it's going to put us in a great situation when that time comes. When that time comes, we are going to be able to, dictate whatever we want to do because we'll just have that many assets. He said, I'm against the Paul Skeens to Detroit thing mainly because there's already the Scooble payment issue. I mean, the thing is that I think that with Scooble, well, I don't want to get too much into the Scooble situation, but with, like I said, once again, with the amount of years that we have control over schemes, Scooble is a little bit more expendable. I hate to say that he's expendable, but at the end of the day, it's going to be hard to pay him. I think the floating amount right now is $400 million.
Right now, at the end of the year, if you were to say, "Hey, Pittsburgh, we'll trade you 1-for-1, Scooble for Skeens," right now, would you do it?
Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, you look at how long we want to extend Scooble, which is around. I mean,
yeah, the number sounded about right.
What?
400 mil.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that if we can get 4 years out of Skeens at the price of whatever he's making, I mean, I'm sure arbitration has him at 15 million. What?
He's lower than what Scooble making right now. I think he's making 13 for arbitration.
13, yeah. Yes, no, yeah.
He's making half that, if that.
Oh, you're saying? Oh, Skeens, you're saying is making around 7?
Well, yeah, because this is Skeens' only his second year, so.
Right. So, but my point being that we would have control over him at a nice price, whereas if we're going to see Scooble for the next couple of years, he's going to be making 40 million. I don't even know what the number is. I just know that the 400 is the number.
So, a lot.
So I think that's a safe move. But of course, why would Pittsburgh know that they got to pay Scooble next year?
Yeah,
they're not making that move, obviously. So neither here nor there.
Fun idea.
Right. So okay, let's get right into it. Before I don't want to take a break yet. Let's talk about PitchCom. This is a segment. This is the Coach's Corner segment where, because me personally, I kind of know how the PitchCom system works, but I'm not 100%, abreast on how exactly the system goes. But can you give us an illustration of how PitchCom works, when it started, and how you feel about the whole concept of it?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this, my personal experience for high school, it's a little different. The devices are limited in what they're functionally able to do, just because it's in their infancy. It was literally just the first season they were permitted to do it. So there's, initial devices that have to go through this process and all that. But essentially for high school, briefly, it's one way only. Catcher has earpiece in, battery pack on the back. Coach will talk into a walkie-talkie usually, or microphone, tell him what he wants. He'll refer to probably a play card on his arm for the pitch based on what he heard. He'll give the signal and they'll send it. Major League, it's different. It's between the pitcher and the catcher, and it's depending on who's calling it. And it's not really up for debate. That's why they have it. It cuts down on the sequence from the traditional style where the catcher is trying to read the pitcher, and based on the pitch sequence so far, what they want to do, it's generally the catcher issuing the first offering of what he wants. And then you go through that process. Yes, no. PitchCom, this is it. We're going here. So if the catcher's calling it, he's going to reach back here, wrong his hip somewhere, and there'll be a series of buttons that he can press. And based on what button he's pushing, the pitcher usually has some type of the receiver on his hat. It's the easiest place and most sensitive for them to feel and then hear it. And then it'll tell you, it's telling him, hey, curveball away, fastball inside, down. And he hears it, and then he goes right into his delivery. I think it kind of prevents the opportunity of stealing signs when runners on second base, honestly, even though it's never been technically illegal to do in Major League Baseball. It's just heavily frowned upon. But, the opportunity is there. And if there's no rule against doing it, why not try it when you can? We've seen more people intentionally balk runners from second to third on purpose just to get them out of that range, so they can go right back to doing their normal signal calling. So it's an interesting mix for sure. But I think it's helped cut down on some of the time of not seeing the fingers. Sometimes they're painted. The fingernails are fluorescent or white so they can see better in the evening. But if it makes the game a little more consistent and a little better pace, I'm for it. So,
I kind of forgot in asking this. I kind of forgot that it's made it down to the high school level. So that's interesting from the perspective of somebody that's kind of seen it from its inception, even at the lower levels. But I kind of forgot about the fact that they had the finger paint so it could be seen, and every once in a while you'll see the malfunction still because it's still a pretty new system. But sometimes they'll utilize it. I feel like sometimes they utilize it like, oh yeah, can't hear it, or there's something wrong with it, so they can get that conversation with the catcher real quick.
A free one, yeah.
But it's crazy, but very interesting that pitchers will go as far as intentionally balking to get them away from the second base and out of the view of the signs, because seems pretty extreme, but obviously the sign stealing has got that serious. So cleans the game up, I guess. So all right. But yeah, I was wondering because I was like, okay, so because I know they've said that it's the catcher's voice that he's hearing, but I never understood how do they signal it from, how do they signal it to the pitcher, because you don't really see hand motion.
They'll both. To the other side of that, briefly, the pitcher will then, if he's calling, he'll either go inside his glove, somewhere up here on his catching glove, the pitcher will. Off to the side, you'll see him dip down a little bit. He'll press something, and then the catcher is going to feel wherever he's got his receiver on. He's going to feel it and hear it and go, okay. And then he's going to adjust where, he's going to set it prior to the delivery.
Very cool. I learned something today. That was personal information that I needed to know. I'm sure you guys will enjoy it because it's not something that's talked about a lot. I mean, you see it, you see the little whatever headset inside the hat and all that, but it's not something that's fully touched on a lot throughout the course of the game. So very informative. That's our edition of Coach's Corner. We're going to get to the last break, and then we're going to see what we got on the tail end of that. All right, let's get to this comment. Do you guys know if Theron Lorenzo has been playing catcher or first with the White? I think mostly catcher, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think mostly catcher. He hasn't had a great season, although I think he did hit a home run over the weekend. Last I checked, he was hitting 200, and I'm not real sure how well he's played defensively. But another young guy, and not hurting the Whitecaps because they're obviously, and that's Erie, by the way. He's in Double-A Erie. Briseño is the primary catcher in with the Whitecaps. So, but like I said, hasn't hurt the performance of Erie. Every team is above 500 at this current juncture. But yes, we have another impactful player on the horizon that should be returning soon, and that is Parker Meadows. He has been rehabbing in Toledo for the last week or so.
Yeah, 10 days. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's just now hitting his final milestone. He was playing DH prior to this weekend, but this weekend he was in the outfield, I believe. Now, I haven't seen any footage, but they definitely said that they were going to be putting him in the outfield, which is the last progression. Same thing that Verling had, where he played. He started in DH, and then they finally put him in the outfield. But when we look at his offensive stats so far, he is hitting. He's got 1 home run, 5 RBIs, One stolen base, so he hasn't really hasn't really attempted many stolen bases. He's hitting 259 average with a 950 OPS. So the power is there. Yeah, yeah.
I
The
like what
power
I'm
is
hearing.
there. He's got at least two triples. I think he's got two. Yeah, I think he's got two triples. So
We're ready.
pretty much, pretty much hitting in the way that he was hitting when he was not when he was rehab, when he got sent down last year, because he had a pretty good stint in AAA last year. But this is pretty big. I mean, this is the Tigers. I actually wrote an article about it on in Fans for the Sports Network, so you can check it out. But the Tigers record when
Mm-hmm.
when Parker Meadows has played is, I want to say it's somewhere in the 600, but let me give you the exact numbers here.
Preach, preach.
All right, so he is when Parker Meadows starts, the Tigers are 54-28, pretty good. And that was 54-28 last year. So
Yeah.
even throughout the fact that he struggled a lot, or for the first half of the season, the Tigers were still winning games, and we know that that has a lot to do with probably to do with his defensive, his defensive efforts. Because one thing that we did see when he went down was we did have some struggles out there. Of course, we didn't have Javi Baez playing center field last year, so hey, but um, but yeah. So, but overall, throughout his entire career, the Tigers have a 75-4 Sorry, guys, for the technical difficulties. Hopefully, y'all can still hear me. All right, I'm gonna try to get Coach back in here, but in conclusion, the Tigers' offense is serviceable for the most part. They've done a good job this year, but I think they're missing that spark. They're missing. You saw the impact of what a triple can bring to the offense, which is what McKinstry was able to provide for us. But right now, actually, the righties are actually have been a little bit more serviceable than the lefties. So Parker Meadows is going to provide some speed on the base pass, give the coach give the pitchers one more thing to have to focus on because he's one of the fastest players in the entire league. We know how good he is defensively, and yeah, just more power, more extra base hits. He's one of the better center fielders in all of baseball, and hopefully he can have a strong second half of the year whenever we decide to bring him back up. One of the things that I forgot to talk about as far as minor leagues or just performances in the minor leagues is Parker Meadows stole home earlier this week. It was a double steal with Hyu Lee. Parker Meadows was on third base. I was finishing something up here, but yeah, Park. I was talking about the double steal that we had earlier this week involving Parker Meadows. I forgot to mention that during the minor league portion, but it was a double steal. Hyu Lee was still on second base. Parker Meadows was on third. The catcher threw down to second, and Parker immediately took off for home, and he scored. So those are just some of the electric plays that I think that the Tigers are kind of missing out on right now. Just seems to be a little. I mean, like I said, we bounced back well from the Guardian series. We swept San Francisco. We had 2 runs in 2 games yesterday. I mean, 2 runs in 2 games to end the Kansas City series. But yeah, I just think that we need another, just need a spark, another person that can come in there and manufacture runs when we struggle with runners in scoring position. So, any thoughts on? I know you had some time to deliberate on this, but any other thoughts that you want to touch on as far as Parker Meadows making a return?
I think a lot of what you said, he's doing everything that he normally would be doing at the major league level in some of these games. So I think that's really extremely encouraging because he's not being limited. There's nothing happening, post game with him re-aggravating anything of that nature. And the fact that it's been a nerve issue and then he's progressed as well. I mean, I think I don't want to say lucky, but we're fortunate that, their projection was pretty much spot on because we're looking at him coming back potentially within the week. I mean, at the realest, maybe 10 days at most, but certainly in June, Parker Meadows is making his return.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. Just if nothing else, to watch him just wander the monstrous, Comerica Park outfield. I mean, the guy just attacks balls, with this gazelle-like strides. I mean, the guy's 6'5". He can climb well over the wall, and he's gonna make he's gonna make Riley Green and Kerry Carpenter life whole lot easier. Green was very busy in the outfield today, but he's looked really good. He makes about a diving catch about once a game that I see.
Parker for me,
every game that I go to.
20.
You said what?
Parker for me is a 20-20-20 guy for sure. Absolutely. 20 home runs, 20 stolen bases, and 20 doubles.
Yep. And yeah, if he can ever stay healthy for a full year, I mean, I think he had 9 home runs last year in about a half a, in about half a season of work, which included an IL stint, because I think he hit a home run in his first game back against Cincinnati, and then he immediately went on the IL after,
Yeah,
I think it was a hammy when he was stealing a base. So
that's Beerling right now.
yeah. So yeah, that definitely has that potential. Yeah, he's hit some pretty big home runs in just a short period of time. So I'm excited to see Parker back, and he'll be a welcome commodity. I was kind of talking to it within the little baseball group chat, but who gets sent down in that scenario?
That's tough. I mean,
Well, I'll give you a name.
I think they have one
Go ahead.
more person left in the 40-man, right? 39 out of 40 are active right now.
Right. The one thing is I can't keep track of where we're at, whether it's 38, 39. I think they said that Scott Harris doesn't like to have it at 40 for whatever reason. I don't know if it just gives him some type of, feel like he has a little bit more flexibility, but
I think
in
they're
the
at
event,
39 though.
39. Okay. In the event that somebody gets sent down, I mean, I've seen people float out names like Ibanez.
That'd be my vote.
Ibanez or Sweeney. McKinstry has looked really good, and that just reminded me of something else. But McKinstry has looked really good at shortstop. He played there today. But Kerry Carpenter has looked pretty. I think he had one game where he
the substitution game the other night, he had a bad play on a ball. But other than that,
yeah, he made a play crashing into the wall. Was that Friday? He saved some runs.
Yeah.
Whatever happened, he saved some runs.
He had that thing, one step bang, smashed into that thing.
But like I said, Parker is going to clean a lot of that up in the outfield. So Kerry's been struggling lately. I haven't seen, I know you hate to,
Yeah, I mean, he had a good series against the Giants, and he didn't really do much. I mean, you had a pair of 1-0 games this weekend. I'd be hard pressed to believe that anyone had a good series offensively from either team, honestly.
Yeah, actually, yesterday we only managed 2 hits, and Colt Keith had them both. So
yeah.
So Colt's been solid. You mentioned that. Did you say that Torque was a defensive replace? Are you sure that Colt?
That was today. Yeah.
He didn't play the whole game?
He did not play the 9th inning at first base. Colt Keith came in and basically he just burned the DH because Colt was DHing today.
Oh, gotcha.
So what happened was they pulled Torkelson out and they burned their DH essentially, and then he became the first baseman. So, if push came to shove and Kansas City tied the game and we went into extras, we no longer have a DH. We have a pitcher hitting for himself in the lineup. And now we have this old school, pinch hit craziness or basically circus going on because he pitches, then he'll get hit for. Then the next reliever will come in and basically come in for that batter and assume his spot in the lineup. So it goes back and forth.
That's crazy.
Crazy. He rolled the dice big time by doing that. You rarely see that. Maybe a few times every year for Major League season, but I count on one hand, I bet for sure.
Okay, yeah, I didn't peep that out. That's
because I saw 33 field 2 of those ground balls at first base. I'm thinking that's not Torkelson's number.
Yeah,
that's Cole.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I wasn't paying attention. Okay, so. So I got one more segment. Maybe it won't be too long. We can knock it out and talk about the upcoming games. Obviously, it's an extended show with the technical difficulties, but
I got the trending we could do.
What's up?
I got the trending up and down.
I don't know what that means. Oh,
like who's trending up, who's trending down within the team.
Oh yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, knock that out.
Yeah. All right. So briefly, I think these 2 for trending up are pretty straightforward. We kind of alluded to earlier. Dingler and McKinstry kind of being the subset of Torkelson and Riley Green, helping that lineup continue to carry over offensively, and especially those two defensively have been phenomenal. Dingler did have some bases taken on him in a series not too long ago, maybe the Giants, if not the series prior to that on that homestand, gave up a couple of stolen bases, but largely those were really good jumps on those pitches. He didn't really have much of a shot. So those two guys continue to help carry the load as well. Montero with today, 2 really good outings this week against 2 better opponents after he had some, easier wins against Baltimore and Colorado. So good to see him kind of help provide stability with some of the additional injuries that we've been enduring, not just in the bullpen, but in the rotation as well, as Olsen continues to heal up. And Skubal doing Skubal things, battling his Cy Young defense. He's right there in the conversation still right now. So good to see. And the bullpen, honestly, they delivered all week. A really low-scoring week overall offensively and also for our opponents. Bullpen really helped answer the bell this week with a little bit of chaos. Have to sprinkle that in there for sure this week. Trending down. These are numbers also that are really not including today's game. Just FYI. Torkelson has cooled off on the average, but he's continuing to provide some timely power production in some clutch situations. Might not be late in game, but it could be second time through the lineup, 4 through 6 inning, hits a 2-run home run that ends up being the difference in the game. So he's still kind of contributing in some way, but from a consistency standpoint, he's dropped off last 11 games. He's hitting 216 with 8 hits, but 5 of those have been extra base hits, again, to that power. He continues to fairly consistently bring, which we've needed. 3 home runs, 2 walks, 8 RBIs, 5 runs in that span. Andy Ibanez, we alluded to just a little bit ago, not really hitting that well, sub 200 against righties. He's barely hitting around 240 against lefties. Kind of struggled today, didn't really provide much. He played some other defense positions, but I think he could be a name potentially come the trade deadline. If we acquire or promote someone, he could be on the out looking in potentially. Again, that's more conversation for potentially later on as we get closer to the playoff picture that clears. Javi Baez too. Boy, he is, as much as we were going crazy after his move to center and everything kind of was on line for him, both sides, defensively, offensively. Since May 13th, he has really cooled off with the bat. And today, honestly, he had some of his trademark ugly swings at some balls well outside the zone. We'll talk more about that. But in that span since May 13th, he has dropped 46 points in his batting average. Slugging's down 66. OBP's down 49 points. And his OPS as a total, as a result, is down 115 points. 6 for 42 with 2 doubles, 1 home run, 10 strikeouts, no walks, 3 runs, and 2 RBIs. Again, not counting today's game.
Yeah, looking at Baez's splits last 7 days, 0.77 average. Yes, 0.77 average with an 0.77 on base percentage. Last 15 games, 147 average with a 171 on base percentage and 377 OPS. So pretty bad. And to your part about Ibanez talking about the trade deadline, if these definitely could be a casualty at the deadline, especially if they're looking for a left-handed pitcher specialist. He's obviously got some playoff experience and has some success in the playoffs, so there might be some value, especially with how you lead looking to be, the next up out of the middle infielder. Capable, every day, not every day, but they could be looking to see if he's ready and if they can get some value out of Ibanez. Obviously he can play a couple different positions, but when you got guys like McKinstry and hopefully Vierling coming back soon, it's less of a need for us at this point. I want to get next time we'll get on to the last segment that I wanted to touch on, because it's nothing that it will age well next week just as well as this week. But do we have any probable starters for upcoming games this week?
Yeah, we do. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. So starting tomorrow, 4-game set. We are spending the week against our Midwest rival, Chicago. So first 4 games divisional in Chicago. White Sox Monday will be Flaherty against Cannon. Tuesday right now is to be determined for us against Smith. Wednesday will be Casey Mize against Burke. And Thursday, tentatively scheduled, is Scooble for the day game matinee against Martin. And we come back home for a 3-game set against the other Windy City team from the national side and Javi's World Series winning team, Chicago Cubs. Friday night right now is tentatively scheduled for Montero against to be determined for the Cubs. Saturday will be Flaherty against veteran Italian, also longtime Pirate. And Sunday will be to be determined for Detroit against Horton. Rounds out the week.
Yeah, and I kind of touched on it last week maybe, but I think that the Tigers have a nice opportunity to create some space between us and the next teams in the Central Division. We got some very winnable series coming up. We got the White Sox, as you said, a 4-game series in Chicago. The Cubs one's going to be a fun and tough series, of course, but you got a Baltimore team, as you said, that's currently crashing right now. We have the Reds and Pirates up after that. So those are 2 teams that I want to say are below. I know the Pirates are below 500. I want to say Cincinnati is as well. They are 29-31. So not horrible. But yeah, Tampa Bay's faring pretty well. But then you have the Athletics as well, another team that's definitely under 500. So and then we conclude the month against Minnesota at home. So that would be the entire month of June heading towards the All-Star break. Obviously, this is a marathon, not a sprint. So we got a long way to go, but assuming that we can continue to pad some wins onto our record, it'll put us in a nice situation, despite having a lot of moving pieces and injuries early on in the season. I can't remember the last time the Tigers had a lead like that. It has to be at least a decade since we were up 6 games in the division. Not that that's so much, but
let me ask you this. Do you feel like these guys are playing with any pressure to win? Honestly, I feel like they really aren't.
No, yeah. I think that, especially going into the year, I think that I don't think we've missed a beat since the end of last year. I think that our expectations were, I saw projections of us being in 3rd place going into the year. So I think this team is still playing as if, not like we have something to prove, because I really feel like that puts pressure on. But usually feeling like you have something to prove puts pressure on you. I feel like this team is still going out there just feeling like they're just the better team on any given day, especially the way our pitchers have done. Hell, Joe, it hasn't been great, right? But
yeah,
we're 8-1, 9-1 in games that he's in games that he's pitched. So that's not too shabby for
he's probably had the best run support of any starter, honestly.
Yeah, which I never really know how to explain how that ends up happening, but certainly a blessing. I would venture this. There's some players that had some pressure going into this year. One being Spencer Torkelson, another being Casey Mize. These were a couple guys that were kind of at the end of the road, we thought, as far as this is make or break. If you don't get it together this year, you could be packing your bags soon. But at this point, I think that we've now settled into a nice groove where, we just, go out there, have fun, and and play hard.
Yeah, I really don't feel like they're playing with the target on their back. I mean, I know there's off these now. Would you say was there a fair enough amount of buzz about Detroit, roughly, potentially, getting back into the playoffs? Maybe not too much of a wild prediction like, oh, they're going to win the World Series, but they were definitely more of a more pro playoff favorable light, right?
Yeah, I think there was definitely some buzz going into last year, but I think the way our momentum was set up, a lot of people weren't 100% convinced that it wasn't just a flash in the pan. So if there was anything to prove, it was that we're for real and that it wasn't just some luck, because we also needed, what was it, Kansas City to fall. It was either Kansas City or Minnesota.
We were chasing them both for a while, so yeah.
Well, one of them crashed and burned at the end of the year. I think it was
Minnesota.
City. Was it Minnesota? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because KC got in and they won their series, their first wild card series.
Right. So yeah, it was Minnesota that kind of crashed and burned at the end of the year. So we needed a lot to go right. I mean, it wasn't a 0.02 chance, percent chance for no reason. I mean, the likelihood was very low. But we've done a good job in the first half of the year of proving that no, this is a team that's really built to win and for the long haul, not just for the present, for the foreseeable future as well. But yeah, that will conclude another episode in Corner to Copa. Once again, I apologize for the technical difficulties. Hopefully, you guys know to just scoot about 10 minutes ahead of time, because it's probably going to be some dead air in there. But at any rate, please subscribe to Bleacher Speakers on YouTube, where you will get to see that in person as it's happening. Everybody that was present left after that. They probably thought the show was over because we didn't get those viewers back. But
bonus minutes.
Yeah. If you hung around, you got about another 20 minutes of action. So but yeah, please subscribe as well to Corner to Copa on all audio aggregators. It's been going pretty well this as far as the support on the audio side of things. So we appreciate everybody that checks that out. We pay attention to the analytics and see where everybody's coming from. We get people from all over the world. So just goes to show how worldwide but how worldwide the fandom of the Tigers are. And we've been packing out some stadiums. There was tons of people in Kansas City this weekend. When you're in first place in the top team in the American League, that buzz gets around and people want to come out and see the team. So
I think I mentioned there's a guy on Twitter who's kind of been known now as like an international Tiger fan, that Jed from the UK.
Yes.
He flew all the way in and over Memorial Weekend and went to like 3 games in that home game stretch. You want to talk about dedication, man. I think it was his second trip in the last year coming back over the pond. Like that's wild. So yeah, that's just crazy that the fandom's gone that worldwide.
Yeah, you got like a signed jersey. You got to meet Andy Dirks. Unfortunately, the weather wasn't great for him. This was the Guardian series, so he got rained on one day. We know that much, and then we lost 3 or 4. But he did get a chance to see Scooble. Did he get a chance? Yeah, I think he got a chance to see Scooble, because I think he was like on his way out of town. But I hope that he got a chance to see Scooble in person in that last game, because that was just a masterclass. But yeah. I follow Jed. He's like pretty popping on Twitter. Like,
yes,
because I just kept, as I started following a lot of Detroit Tigers fans, he just kind of popped up out of nowhere, and I said, why not follow?
He's about as diehard as they get, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole lot. I mean, I think he raised money, and that started like in the winter time or something. Like, he's been planning. That's not a trip that you just wake up one day and say, I'm going to Detroit. No, you got to plan all that stuff through, hotels and tickets. And because he had some pretty good tickets too. It wasn't just
prime weekend holiday too. No cheapy weekdays.
Absolutely. So, and he doesn't know anything about doesn't know anything about the city of Detroit really, outside of the Tigers and whoever else he follows. So, Very cool. Maybe he listens to us. Who knows? No.
Yeah, Jed. What area of London you in, mate?
Yeah. And you know what? Actually, I don't think we've had much much going on as far as in London, but we definitely get some followers from overseas. So now I got to keep a better close eye on that. But at any rate, we will be back next weekend recapping the Michigan versus Chicago, essentially Detroit versus Chicago, because all these will go from the South Side back to Detroit. So
them damn Fips.
right. So stay tuned. But we're out of here.
Peace.